do you also not understand that these are actions, every single one of them? And they are actions that we must choose. When a little baby smiles at his mama and gives her a hug and gives her a kiss and even says, "I love you," does that child really understand love? Because that kind of love is not only kind of normal, it's really kind of natural. If a mama takes care of that kid and feeds that kid and reads stories to that kid and makes that kid happy, that kid's going to responsibly say, "I love you." But the kind of love that we're talking about here is agape love. And that is a godly love. That is a selfless love. That is a kind of love that manifests itself by showing the desire to help another person beyond the desire to help self. In other words, I am willing to give you what you need over giving myself what I need. That's love, and that's an action. That is an attitude that is learned, but it is an action that has to be lived. The action of joy. Once again, we live in a world that has a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, but we can still have joy in Christ. When my father passed away 3.5 years ago, after being a gospel preacher for 70 years, I actually had one person come up to me and they said, "Kevin, I don't think you've been crying enough." Well, I appreciate what they were saying, but they were wrong. Because I miss my daddy. I loved my daddy, and I'd love to talk to my daddy right now. But let me tell you something. There's no way in the world that I would take him away from the place he wanted to go and preach to others for 70 years that he wanted to be. He's better off. So in the midst of my pain, through Christ, I can find joy. I can choose joy. I can choose peace. I can choose that point that we'll talk a lot more about tomorrow, but I can choose the action of patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness. And look at that last one, self-control. That's not just an attitude. That is an absolute action. I need to control myself so that I don't say the things that I might be tempted to say.
That's right.
That I might not do the things that I might be tempted to do that would be displeasing to God. I have to demonstrate the action of self-control. You know, it boils down to this very simple statement. Jesus would say, "If you love me, you will keep my commandments."
Right.
If you have the right attitude, you'll show me the right action. If you truly desire what I want more than what you want, Jesus says that you'll do something about it. You won't be a hearer of the word. You will be a doer also. And that's what we've got to learn tonight. This idea that Solomon ultimately concluded that we need to fear God and keep his commandments. Notice that they're connected by that little conjunction "and." Fearing God is part of it, but it's not all of it. Having the right attitude is part of it, but it's not all of it. I have to fear God and keep his commandments. What does that mean? That means I've got a hunger and thirst after righteousness. I've got to learn these things. I've got to want these things. And I've got to do what is necessary to bring these things into my life. So Jesus would say very simply, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Why? Because Jesus is God. John 1 and verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Verse 14, and the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us, as of the only begotten Father, full of grace and truth. Jesus said what Solomon concluded. If you truly fear me, if you respect me, if you revere me, if you love me, you'll obey me.